If the movie stinks, just don't go.
So I was watching Batman Mask of the Phantasm for the first time in about 10 years. It brought me back to my childhood. But with all these years later and seeing it with fresh eyes, I have a question. What's the deal with Andrea Beaumont? The film kind of skips over the fact on what happened between her and her father being killed, and her disappearing and her coming back as the Phantasm. Some will chalk this up to the writers wanting to leave it a mystery and having it be a less is more approach, which would be fine if the leap wasn't so big in my mind. You're asking, what is the leap? Well, a question that will elaborate this question is, does Andrea have powers? Some of you will scoff, but if you watch the film, it kinda appears like she has superpowers. And I will state off the bat that I know this is an animated film, but considering the film's reputation and the fact that just because it's animated, doesn't mean it shouldn't somewhat adhere to the rules of reality. First, she takes a full clip of a pistol at point blank range and doesn't even flinch. Even if she had body armor on, she would at the very least be pushed back. If not on the ground struggling for breath after her chest takes that kind of punishment.
Is it gonna hurt bad?
Oh, child. Only for a second, sugar. A handgun bullet travels at more than
700 miles an hour.
700 miles an hour. So at close range like this, the force is going to take you off your feet for sure, but it's really no more painful than a punch in the chest.
Why are you getting punched in the chest?
You're going to be fine, baby doll.
Some will say that she had some kind of ultra protective armor underneath her costume, except it doesn't appear to be for two reasons. First, she is way too mobile, like right after a car tries to run her over twice. First, she jumps right on the hood of a car, flooring it, which is not exactly an easy thing to do. Cause it might, hurt a bit. Then after the car comes around the second time, she does a Kobe Bryant and jumps over the car entirely.
This time I got you, you lousy, stinking. What? I told you!
Even if Batman did it, you would do a double take and say that's a little far-fetched. Second, when she reveals herself to the Joker at the end of the film, she appears to be wearing just a black outfit. Later when she fights the Joker, he punches her in the chest and back and he puts her on the ground no problem. If she was wearing thick armor, his hands and arms would be broken. These examples alone, you have to question if Andrea is actually a phantasm, or learned some sort of magic or has superpowers. But there are more examples. Later at the cemetery, she has a wooden stick thrown at her and it goes right through her. Again, to me, this seems to indicate that either she has on impenetrable body armor or objects go right through her. Later, when she confronts Batman on the roof of a building, she disappears in a puff of smoke. Now, maybe the smoke that she can emit at any time, seemingly without a source, hid the fact that she jumped off the building somewhere. Of course, that begs the question, where did she land? Does she have some kind of rappelling device or grappling device? Next, back to the fight with the Joker. She puts out her hand and smoke shoots out and nearly incapacitates him. Where is the smoke coming from? And how is she immune from it? She has it all around her without her mask several times at the end of the film, and she doesn't cough and her eyes don't water at all. Yet the Joker nearly coughs up a lung when coming in contact with it. Now for the last two instances. First, when she's approaching the large engine that looks like a fan. A puff of smoke is shown and she materializes out of nowhere. If it was meant to be her coming off screen or the haze of the smoke obscuring her, I think they could have done a better job portraying it. Lastly, when the world of tomorrow is going up in flames, she does her disappearing act and seemingly teleports away holding the Joker. And if you say that she didn't teleport away, what did she do? She again had smoke materialize out of nowhere, which is hard to explain without saying the animators didn't want to ever clearly show where the smoke comes from. Then she just puts a Joker on her shoulder and beelines it out of there. Kinda hard with all that smoke in your lungs and the place literally exploding around you while carrying a fully grown man. To me, either Andrea does things no human including Batman can do or she has superpowers. And if it's the latter, I think they should have explored that more a bit. Or the creators just didn't want you to think about it too hard. But considering the film's status and reputation, I know a lot of people who think this is a masterpiece and the best Batman film. I just think a film like that should be held to a higher standard.